Hey guys, 54 New Star, and this is a basically developer's video. If you looked to my prior videos, I have a dev video series. This is part of it. Alright, so basically I'm going to list off what I've been doing, what I will do, and why my life's crazy right now. So as you can see, I'm working on a testing. This is kind of a PC slash Android testing in Copper Cube 5. The Android build has improved greatly. I used to have issues with a certain amount of poly counts or texture resolution sizes, and I would have to downsize them a lot. Nowadays, I don't have that much of an issue. And even with my old Samsung too, I don't have that issue actually really much anymore. And the guy moves around pretty quickly. The texture resolutions are actually pretty high. And I actually have a terrain in here. And I actually tried that out, and it worked pretty good. So what am I trying to build here? If any of you guys had played John Carmack's Rage, some of you like it, some of you don't. Some are like, certain parts are good, certain parts are bad. I'm trying to build a top-down version styled off of it. Because I really didn't like the iPhone version. I mean, it was alright. The iPhone version of Rage was pretty nice, but I think they could have done a little bit more with it, especially with technology expanding. Or they could have built a different, different version, or another game, kind of like that's a bit smaller, but based off of it. Hold on. I see some textures I don't really like. I'm going to get some dirty textures. Alright, there we go. So, what I'm doing here is this character is a test character. I may actually use them in the game. And you are in this post-apocalyptic world, and you basically do what that character does. And this is in our tutorial scene, so I don't expect to actually make a full-fledged game with this. So this is going to be kind of an Android slash PC setup, and I actually will be building the same setup in an engine called Spark. If you guys don't know what Spark is, I'm going to put a link down below, and I want you guys to before it runs out, there's a beta going on, and I want you guys to be creative. And I want you guys to understand, though, that this game is in beta, or actually is in alpha. It's going to be in beta, and it's just beginning, but it has a lot of promise, and I really like it. And it's kind of building upon the whole, yes, we do have limitations in technology, but what we're building is, what the new age of actually game engines is that it used to actually be data-driven, to where, okay, we can only have so much texture resolutions, we can only have so much going in and out. And what they're trying to do is trying to say, okay, you can put as much as you want inside of it, because, I'd say the old engines were actually data locked, and this engine is trying to open that up, so it's not as data locked, it's more data driven. So data is coming in and out, and you have raw technology feeding your game. I do have some questions on how they are actually going to do this, because if you have a device that's if you got, of course, if you have everything on max and your device cannot feed the textures, the normal maps, the lighting build setups as quickly as you are viewing it, you're going to have what we had in It Tech 5, the Rage game, texture popping. And that actually wasn't the error of the engine, it was the actual error of the PC. People would have issues with texture popping. It was the pipelines weren't big enough. Now you could also blame it and say, hey, your textures are just way too large. You need to get down with reality of what everybody else is doing. The fact is that next generation technology just can't do what everybody else is doing. You want the next big game, you're going to have to allow for bigger pipes. And that's what I saw with IdTech. I did understand, and I had texture popping myself. I still do occasionally. I run a PC that's not the best. I'm gonna be upgrading that this summer, hopefully, and I still run Rage. Do I keep with 60 FPS? On almost every single part of the game, I run 60 FPS, but on like low. So I have, you know, I don't have to downsize my screen. So most people are running at 800 by 600 or 720 or whatever. I don't have to downsize anything, but I do. But it does scan my computer, say, hey, everything's gonna be running low. I still have great skin textures. If I get close to something, it still looks awesome. The issue is that when I turn, I get texture popping, and that suits the PC pipeline. And that's my PC side, not not the game engine's issue. Maybe if they had more, if they had lower res textures, or an emergency set of, okay, if it is under this type of qualification, we're going to put in this object, and it has this texture, and it's going to always kind of keep this texture, which is decent up close and from far away. Which is kind of something that I'm seeing now. People are saying, okay, with data-driven engines, we can archive a large amount of information, because a lot of engines now are packing a huge amount of texture resolutions with Xbox One, the PlayStation. All these devices are having larger and larger data caches, with even the new Xboxes, the PlayStations, being more PC-like, because they cannot, with their past brethren, follow the same pipeline. Even if they were to double it, triple it, and quadruple it, it just wouldn't process the same way. So they copied the PC line. And again, I'm not biased toward anything, but I normally run PC, but I have, with my Indeed developer licenses, played around with PlayStation, Xbox, and some other platforms. Most platforms follow a PC-based setup of PC has raw power. Issue is that it takes a lot of battery power if you're like on your 3DS to run it. But you can run huge scenes, especially if you have the graphics power of a graphics card, your memory setup and all that. So that's what I'm kind of worried about with the Spark engine. Is that how will it perform when dealing with multiple types of computers? If a person decides, hey, I'm literally going to pack in huge resolution textures. Now, I do believe they actually have capped the limit on texture sizes. That was one post, and I don't want you guys to take this today and say, hey, this engine can only do this. It's, from what I've read so far, is that right now for the testing, we have a certain cap size. And that's, I think, 2040, like 2048 or 4000. So you're playing around with almost like a 2000 to a 4000 resolution texture and down. That's already pretty good. But you can think of it this way. And this is actually also seen in Unity. For every single one of these grids, you could actually literally put a 1K texture. That means, and how many grids do I have? Well, I have no idea, but if you did actually the math and say I had 1000 by 1000, that's let's see, one moment. So 1000 by 1000 times 1, 2, 3. That's what, like a million? That's over 1 million pixels by 1 million pixels, and that's pretty high res, especially for PC, specifically for PC. And I think on Rage they only had 128,000 by 128,000. One of their other maps, some other maps, was 64,000 by 64,000 pixels. So you're talking 1 billion by 1 million pixels. That's pretty high resolution, but depending on how many of those you can store in a game, I am really liking how they're doing a cloud-based web sharing. So in case you, so you can do that over a server. So say you set it up with, what do you call it, Dropbox. They have a file sharing. I think their free one is like 10 or 20 gigs. Maybe 5 gigs. You set up there, your basic package, or you choose a free open source file sharing, and you get like say 1 terabyte, and you're never going to use more than, I don't know, 500 gigs or so, depending on your resolution sizes and all that stuff. And you build your game. And that's what I really like about it. But you also are able to store all your resolutions and textures actually on your PC in case you run off of what I've seen some studios around me use is if they actually go to a building or a place, is that they actually have a server or a master PC as the server, and then the other people just access it. Jump on to say their computer at home. And somebody has a server computer, and they always have access to it, and they just drag files from there. So you could also do it that way. I can explain that a little bit later when I actually get the engine and do some playtesting with it. So, okay. That's what I'm going to be doing, kind of like what I'm playing with right now. I'm actually at a 4-year college, so I'm doing some driving and all that stuff, and I'm taking classes. I had classes, and I am doing homework. Just finished some homework, and I've got some homework this week. It's kind of low, but it's kind of like a lot of stuff they want you to read. So I've been doing that, and I still have work, and then I still have my other job where I've been building video games. And we're kind of like, once I found this Spark engine, we were all kind of like, ooh, let's play around with this, because, we run Unity, we run Unreal, we run something called, I think it's called Iron Forge, something Forge. It's a really, really sweet engine. We've actually been playtesting for the company, and it allows us to do so much stuff. But we were really interested in Spark because we kind of wanted more engines out there that were at a high level. So we want more, like for example, we would like there to be in the next 4 to 5 years, at least some engines close to the level of Unity, Unreal, and Crysis that weren't so crazy to build, because Unreal and Unity, less Unity, more Unreal, and more on Crysis can be so challenging to understand. Once you do, you're kind of like, I understand it, but then you have to find a team that also understands it, and they're also heavily coder based and all that stuff. And yes, you can use Playmaker, you can use Kismet, but we're kind of like looking for a really good non-programming setup. So we could say, okay, yes, we will still have to use coding because you can't get around that. You will always kind of have to use coding, but we wanted a strong non-coding feature similar to what we see in CopperCube, to where, yeah, you can code, but you could do a lot of, I'd say, pretty decent amount of stuff without coding inside of the engine. So that's what we found in Forge, is that it has a even better setup than Kismet and Unreal. We have literally for some of the more basic enemies, we have literally just used all what we call Forge UI, or Forge graphs, and where we have a character. We have named the character, and we've actually assigned that model to that basically UI or user interface block. It's literally just a little block, and it has its name. We drag the character to them, and it associates with them, and then we tell them how to interact, and then we can actually, if we need to, we don't need to wait for an update for more added features. We could literally code in a block. It will appear in the block library. We'll drag it onto a big blank screen, similar to like Kismet, I guess, in Unreal. and attach it and say, hey, he's going to affect this. Or, we can drag a blank block, name it door, and then go into the library archive and say affect how, and then we can add the animation. So we can say near to something. Okay, if the character is near to door, so that means the door is going to say, okay, how close is he going to be away? I put a distance of basically 3 blocks or 3 spatial grids away, and then it's going to literally light up that area. And then I tell to do something. And then I tell it to either reference an animation or literally I can just, like in Unity, animate something and say door open, door closed, or frame open, whatever. It's really kind of cool. And so the character goes near it, the door opens, he gets further away, the door closes. It's really kind of cool, and I really like this engine. But I can't show it on YouTube because as much as I can talk about it, they really don't. They kind of are like fearful of it being shown on YouTube. It's kind of weird. But Japanese company, but really, really great technology. It's something I've actually been wanting to see in Copper Cube. To some extent, Copper Cube's more of a light-based engine. I actually wouldn't mind them being kind of like. I kind of want to say Gamebryo, but I haven't messed around with Gamebryo in a long, long time. But a really, really awesome, useful engine that's still lightweight. I still think of Copper Cube as a very light engine. I don't want it to be. I would like it to be kind of like a Unity 2.0 or 3.0, to where it. I wanted to allow for C# coding. I know it has some Java that you can code in, and I think some sort of web HTML code you can code in. But I want it to be kind of like really non-coder friendly, like exceptionally non-coder friendly, and I would like for some sort of block code to be implemented to allow for more advanced coding, and then allow somebody to code a block so they get used to coding and do that. And then back to Spark Engine. I would like to see that. I'm going to get access to it February, so I want to I am in the process of building a ton of assets, and currently these assets are actually going to be ramped up and rebuilt and high-res textured and redone really well for actually a actual commercial product that me and my team are making. So you're going to see a bit of that and a bit of the coding that goes behind that, and what we actually build behind it. So I'm going to take some assets home, or when I get them emailed from my team, and we're going to do a top-down, single-player, team-based, and multiplayer shooter. That's what the theme is right now. And we really hopefully want to hit it on Android, PC, web, and as soon as the engine allows, because we actually can't do this with our Forge engine yet, because they actually won't be finished with completing their engine till 2016. At this point, we could build a whole AAA game with it, but there are some huge bugs. Like if it was straight for PC, we could build a game and nobody would notice any of the bugs. But if you exported it to PlayStation or Xbox, because they require even tighter fitting, like you could literally have a bug-ridden game on the PC, and you could play it 1,000,000 times, probably find one bug. But if you played it on the Xbox or the PC, it would probably crash like 1,000,000,000 trillion times. So they're trying to fix those issues. Because originally they only wanted it for PC, and now they're going for the Xbox One and PlayStation, because they're really kind of like the only engine that is like super non-coding. Though I think you can still code in Sharp Plus, and I think some other coding features. But yeah, and then Spark. I'm gonna get that in February. I would like to actually build some sort of like full feature demo. So we're talking intro screen with logo. We're talking menu. We're talking what happens when I put the mouse over a GUI interface. Will it light up? Will it animate? Sound controls, graphics controls, toughness controls, adding 6 more enemies or giving the enemies from pistols or, hitting me with their hands or whatever to actually shooting me with some sort of gun. And then actual in-game animations, some sort of dialogue system, and then actual gameplay, and then in-game stuff. So I have a lot of stuff to do, and then a lot of story design to actually create, because it's actually based off one of the books I'm actually currently creating, and my whole multi-series setup. So that actually is going to be really, really awesome. So I've got a lot of stuff to do. I've got a lot of tutorials because a lot of you guys have actually been demanding Construct2 tutorials, and I'm building Construct2 tutorials. The reason why it's taken so long is that I have a lot of stuff on my plate. But what I'm actually trying to currently do is I'm trying to pick up that turret tutorial again, and I have one other tutorial. I'm thinking about doing some sort of RPG tutorial. I did a car tutorial for the Sakara guys, and if you guys could I'm gonna get the link this week to where they posted my videos on their site and all that stuff, and I'm actually gonna give you guys a link, so if you guys would just go over there and watch it over there, and watch the other guys who are doing their videos, because they're doing a lot of awesome work. That would be really awesome. So I want to do some Android tutorials for 3D. I want to do some more 2D tutorials. Maybe some sort of I have the plans, and I have the sprites, and I have the stuff to do a side scroller shooter guy, which actually some of you have actually requested, so I've been doing that. So I have the menu set up, and I have him actually up there. I just need to he doesn't change weapons because the guy who did the actual sprite abandoned or stopped doing the sprite, so he's got the full setup just with one weapon. So I'm gonna do him. I'm gonna do him picking up ammo. I may have another artist do re-sprite him, so he's actually holding a different weapon or whatever. And I'm gonna do some, and then I'm gonna have somebody do some enemies, or just pick some other sprites to be enemies or something like that. So I'm gonna do a tutorial with that. It'd be nice if you guys could post extra stuff that you want me to do. I've been getting quite a bit more emails for commissions and for hey, could you help me with this and all that stuff? And I'm like, yeah, sure, totally. The commissions, please, keep them coming, because it does help me pay for college and projects that I actually would like to hire artists for. Some of the assets that you'll be seeing in the game will be actually uploaded to websites for you to download or Mediafire. I've actually been having trouble. I had a whole thing set up with FileDropper, and where they hosted my stuff, and I actually re-downloaded some files to say, okay, I can't find them on my PC, and so I'm going to download them from FileDropper, and they actually were somebody else's files, and I think it was somebody's homework, chemistry homework, and I was like, wait, where are my files? I was literally in shock and freaking out, because I was like, I want my files. So I actually ended up finding on a external hard drive a backup. So I found them, and I got them, and I re-uploaded them. I don't know when they're going to be finished. And then somebody needed a file, so I ended up handing him a file. But it was over Gmail's legal limit of 25. I think it was 30 megabytes or whatever. So I was like, It's already zipped to the max because I use a 7-zip, and I just super zipped it, and I went over to RAR, and I RAR'd it up like super max, and it was still over the limit. So I'm use data host, which I kind of like, kind of don't like, and sent it to him, and hopefully it's working now. So after this video, I'm gonna check, and if it doesn't, I'm gonna be really pissed and just do something to send it to him. So that's kind of interesting. I think that's kind of it. Future stuff, building a lot of games. You could, I would like to post a few more videos up, but you might not be seeing as much up due to the fact that I am doing like seriously too much stuff right now. Dealing with the two jobs, going up to college and doing homework and trying not to get sick, and working like with both jobs, it's like almost 70-80 hours, and then I need downtime, and I need to I literally need a holiday, which some of you guys are like, wait a minute, you haven't posted anything for like 2 weeks. What do you mean you don't get a holiday? That's me making sure that I don't die, literally. But I'm going to post a tutorial about this. I want this guy to be able to this tutorial. This in Copper Cube, I might be a little bit limited, but I'm gonna see if I could get him into a car, or at least have a gun. Where you can now attach stuff to bones. So I'm going to show you me rigging him, putting a gun to him. He's going to be talking to some characters, maybe some sort of mission setup. He's going to be attacking some enemies, so I'll have to animate some enemies. It would be nice if I had some help in the community with texturing, because I'm not that great in it. To retexture some enemies. I may ask some guys from like the Blender community to help me build some low-res textures. I'm not talking like anything 1024 by 1024. I'm not even talking anything 512 by 512. It may be 256 by 256. And so I can have some enemies. So yeah, that's going to be kind of interesting for this setup, because what I have so far, and what I really want with this engine, is to be able to add more or expand terrains, because I really like the terrain setup that this engine has, but I cannot add any more terrain. So literally what I have to do is delete this terrain, build another terrain that's like 4 times the size, and then build on with my level, because it's literally this is a old mine bunker. And here's some water. The particle effects is really kind of nice. It's really old, but I kind of like it. And then I'm gonna have to do some water, which I'll probably just do a plane with reflective material, because he hasn't implemented in water yet. And actually, I don't expect a too much advanced water simulation setup in Copper Cube, and I kind of don't want an advanced setup yet. If I could have more like a Unity basic water setup, I'd actually kind of like that. What I would prefer though, a shader. Like if we had attributes, materials, behavior, and shaders, and then we had certain shaders like tune shader, reflective shader, or something like that, we could add to these objects. That would be really nice. I do want terrain to be able to have normal maps, or specular and normal maps. But I have some high-res diffuse textures on this terrain, so it actually looks pretty good right now. And then some low-res stuff, which doesn't look so awesome, but hey. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to have a lot of pipes jutting out from here, and then some broken vehicles and all that stuff, and then I'm actually going to build a modular setup. So it's going to be a whole bunch of tunnels streaking off. I would like to have some sort of what we have in the Forge engine is a AI. If we don't like building AI in the block system, a new patch that's come up is something called Spider, and it basically what you do is you drag that character, um, or you or characters onto Spider, which is like a pop-up graphical box. So it's kind of like this. So if I pop this out, and it's called Spider, and it'll have like a list of the characters. So what you could do is pop it out. It'll have the first button will be characters. So you'll drag all the characters in the scene. So say in this scene, I only have one character. I would literally it would be a shoot. I'm gonna set this up so it's gonna be like it. Boom. It's gonna be like this. Actually, that's textures. Here we go. This is gonna be more like it. There we go. And I would take animated clerk and I would drop him into basically a blank screen. So it wouldn't be any of this stuff. It would just be totally white blank, and it would show up his little icon like these guys. And so what would then happen is I'd go over to another tab, and it would literally, I could literally at this point, I would have to expand it totally. And then at that point, it would have, AI setup. It would have each of the characters listed in a little text box, and it would be a whole bunch of like. I don't want to explain too much of it because it's still in beta, and while I can talk about it, it's not like they were really kind of freaked out that I might say it was bad. At this point, it's kind of buggy. That's all I'm gonna say about it. But what we can do is that we have like a drop down, and we can list like a whole bunch of behaviors. We can say hide, and then I can say low health. So if I link those two together, because all these are basically the brain, because I don't have to link it to anything else. This is a collective group. So if I only put like one character here, and then in his behaviors, or they actually put AI set up, a Spider AI, it would only affect him. So if I had, say, for example, one guy here, and then I had, this one guy, but say in this other region of the map, I had 4 guys. If I did a separate Spider AI for him, to where he's the watch out, so he stands here with his, say, pistol. He goes straight into an idle animation, because at this point I would say player idle start. And then I would then start setting up different AI subgroups. So I can have a large box, and I can basically implement what he does in that box. And then I can lead it to, okay, if this happens, say he gets down to low health, or he's taunted, or I can even state to with the fact that if he is, he will only taunt or be brave due to the fact that right behind the bin, he has, 5 other guys and like 6 robot, spider bots. But as soon as, say, you came around the other side of the bin, so instead of coming through here, you came down here and you killed all of them. And he comes around because his walk is basically his path animation leads him to at least recognize a couple of the guys. But if they're all dead, then his bravery is down. He's actually in fear, and he'll actually try to run to the big gate and unlock it or call for backup. In which case you just kill him and you're done with it. But if you go through the front entrance and he sees you, he's going to taunt you. He's going to actually try to take you on. And if he can't, and he's knocked down so much in health, or if he runs out of ammunition or something like that, then the AI's actually what you can do is this will be a certain behavior. And what you do is then you go to the big graph, spider graph, and you or actually what they want to call it the forge, but I call it the spider graph because it literally looks like a whole bunch of spider graphs everywhere. You can actually that will actually be a new black or whatever you can colorize each button, a new little block, and you can link that into okay, this group of code already exists, but you want to affect that code how? So you don't even need to. It's like a little sub block of code, and you can drop him in there, and he's already got his little AI, and he's following, a certain path, and they have path nodes which you can build, and he's going to follow within that area because it randomizes, because he can stay still for so many seconds, or you can set certain times he's going to stay still for 5 seconds, other times it's literally a whole minute. But say his path leads him down to at least, over here, where he can see, his other pals working on stuff or, eating candy or whatever. And they're dead. Well, his path will now be linked because you have to draw a link from his block to another block, and that other block is literally another one of these graphs with 5 of the character icons with another AI, and saying, hey, if they're all dead, if they have health of 0, or if they are in animation state dead, then he'll be in an animation state freak out, and he's literally going to do anything that he can to save himself, which means if he has to attack you a lot, use his ultimate weapon, or run away within a certain parameter, because he can't run away too far, because he has to warn his buddies here. His main thing is going to get to this area, contact his buddies, because I haven't built the communication button, because you can only open it from the other side. And he's going to call for his buddies who are going to come out in their heavy gear and try to kill you. So that's what his goal is, and that's how the AI is set up. And I kind of wish that was built into CopperCube a bit. At least to a basic sense. Also, I wish we had some tabs up here that could affect the scene, like that spider graph. So yeah, that's what I've been working on. That's why I've been kind of busy. Is I have a lot of stuff to do at college, and here reviewing technology for next-gen systems, which actually I never thought I would be doing, and hopefully bringing some of that tutorial setup to you, because I kind of want I want a basic version of it in the Spark engine, so I can bring it to you guys and say, hey, this is what I've been working on. I want you guys to play around with it, test it, give me feedback, and in the end, here's the final product. Have fun with it. Because building games is fun. The issue is that you have to do a lot of work to get it fun, and then you got to deal with all the criticisms that come with it. Alright guys, I think that's going to be it. It's already been a huge video. I just wanted to show you guys what I'd been doing, and what you'll see later on in my series. So hopefully you guys found it interesting. If you did, hit the thumbs up. If you didn't, hit thumbs down, or just comment down below what you would like to see. I'll get some more tutorials and actually do some tutorials on rigging and animation and linking up with audio and getting into vehicles and exchanging weapons and ammo pickups. We'll see if we can get all that done quite soon. Not saying like starting tomorrow, but quite soon. Probably do some 2D tutorials sooner than that. But I'll see you guys later, and have a great day gaming.